This is your Monday Daily Delivery. I am Michael Rand. Lots going on this weekend. Patrick Reusse will help me break it down as he always does in just a little bit. Join me to talk some Twins, maybe a little Timberwolves, lots of big picture stuff as well. Great stuff coming up the rest of the week, too. Excited to be joined by Cam Bynum in a day or two. Vikings fourth-round draft pick this season. Really enjoyed the conversation I had with him recently, and hopefully talking to Jeff Munichie as well later on this week for memories of Kevin Garnett and his Hall of Fame induction coming up soon, and a Lynx season preview coming up this week as well. But first, what did I miss? Well, it's an underachieving team in this market right now that had success last season, had really high hopes coming into this year, and whose coach, manager, if you will, is having a lot of problems this season. A lot of fans upset with the job performance, and I'm speaking, of course, of Minnesota United and Adrian Heath. Could have been a couple teams. I know that. That's the setup. That's the beauty of that kind of setup. Could have been the Twins and Rocco Baldelli as well. I'm talking in this case, though, about Adrian Heath and Minnesota United. They fall to 0-4 this weekend, losing 3-2 to Colorado, an all too familiar late collapse. That, too, could be talking about the Twins. They get up 2-0 in the first half. Really nice away start in Colorado. Give up 3, however, in the second half and lose 3-2. Heath admitting as much of bringing on Brent Kallman in that match to hopefully stop the bleeding after Colorado had scored twice to tie the game. Trying to get some extra defense. Didn't work. They gave up the third goal late. They end up losing 3-2. They are the only team in Major League Soccer this season that does not have a point. They are the only team in the Western Conference that doesn't have at least one win. Most teams have played 4 games already. Now, 4 games is not a representative part of a whole season, but as my colleague Jerry Zagota pointed out in his game story the other day, MLS teams don't tend to rally from that far down. There's only been twice in the last 20 years that a team has started 0-4 and made the playoffs. And actually, both of those were last season in the strange season of COVID interrupted and things of that nature. So in a normal season, this is just not something teams are able to come back from. And remember, this is a team with really high expectations coming into the season. They made the MLS Cup, almost made the MLS Cup last season. They were up 2-0, that familiar lead in Seattle last year, but Seattle scored 3 times in that final half to come all the way back to win that match and deny them that bid. And they come into the season hoping, okay, did some off-season remaking of the roster, got some veterans in here to hopefully, kind of shore up certain areas that needed to be shored up and get better where you need to get better. And, the hope was, okay, the things that went well last year, they'll go well again, and the things that were problems last year, shore them up, and then it'll be okay. And that's just not been the case this year. This team seems out of sorts. They seem tired at times. They've not had good second halves. I mean, you go back to the opener of the season too. Good first half against Seattle. Draw 0-0 in the first 45 minutes. End up losing 4-0. Anytime I watch this team, it seems like they're playing on their back foot in the second half, and that's a problem, right? You got to keep attacking. You got to be able to. If you're up 2, you got to be able to get that third so that it's really feeling like it's out of reach. Or, if you're down or you're tied, you're level, then you got to get back in there and you got to start making those plays. They just don't seem like they're a team that's been consistently on the attack, especially in the second half. That's uncharacteristic. That's when they were at their best last season, and that's how they expected to play this year as well. So the pieces not fitting together how they want them to right now. I'm not sure exactly what the answer is. Maybe some lineup tweaks. Maybe some, they tried some new things even on Sunday night. They tried, a different formation. They had, Hassani Dotson way up top now. Reynoso and Dotson both had goals in the first half. So, it was working for a while until it wasn't. And then 0-4, it's just unacceptable. You can't be at that point this season. And expect good things to happen the rest of the year. I mean, there's still time to turn it around, but again, kind of the parallel to the Twins. The more you play at that level, the more you expect that to be the case the rest of the year. So we'll see if they can turn it around. They had a tight turnaround. They play again Wednesday against Vancouver. Maybe they can get their first point at least this season. We'll see. But right now, things not going well for the Loons, a team with very high expectations and very little results so far this year.
I'm Nyla Jean Myers, Senior Assistant Sports Editor at the Star Tribune. Thank you for listening to Strip Sports Daily Delivery. This work is made possible by our Star Tribune subscribers. For unlimited access to the articles mentioned in this podcast and our coverage of Minnesota sports from pros to preps, go to startribune.com/subscribe.
It's Monday on Daily Delivery. Patrick Reusse joins me to talk through the weekend in sports, look ahead a little bit. Patrick, I don't know how much you followed the goings on with the Twins this weekend, but they split, I guess is the way to put it, in Detroit. It was maybe a mercy rain on Sunday, so now they get 2 days off to rest that bullpen, I guess is probably the best way to put it. But now they got two against they got a series against the White Sox starting on Tuesday, 3 games against the White Sox, and they're already like 7 games back of Chicago, 12-20 overall. I guess the big question I have is, they're already struggling, obviously, 12-20. They've called up a bunch of guys already. They had Derek Law pitching in kind of a tight spot on Saturday, right after they called him up from AAA, kind of this, minor league veteran. He gives up a bunch of hits, and that game gets blown open. Not only where they are right now, but in terms of reinforcements and what's going on with AAA St. Paul, this just doesn't feel very optimistic about the cavalry coming to save the day.
No, I mean, yeah, I think I sounded that warning about 2 weeks ago or a week ago when I looked at their pitching staff over there in St. Paul, and they were there's no phenoms, there's not even phenoms. There are no big time prospects. Bailey Ober is as close as they got. He's a 6'9" right-hander who they're grooming him as a starter. He might be able to come in and relieve sometime this year. The Durand kid, the Durand guy, who's not that much of a kid, I guess he's 23 now, is down in Fort Myers. There's something wrong with him. I don't know if he's coming back here shortly or not. But it's when you see all these other bullpens, I mean, even Detroit's bringing in guys who throw hard, and these guys are trying to, Derek Law, I knew nothing about him. He had a bunch of strikeouts in spring training. I know that. And right away, he comes into the game the other day, and he's trying to slop curveballs in there. Yep. And I thought, okay, this guy had some arm on him, I thought. But he's, I'm worried about their whole concept of pitching, that breaking ball. They never go after anybody. And they just, I think they're over prepared with the scouting reports that, slider's your best pitch. Throw your slider 70% of the time, curveball, whatever it is. You got to be able to throw it for strikes. It doesn't do you any good. The old theory of throw a fastball, get ahead, throw another one, let them foul it off, and then throw a couple of breaking balls. But these guys go to 3-2 all the time, from 0-2. And what happened to Duffy? He's terrible.
I don't know.
Where's the fastball?
Yeah.
He was throwing 2 years ago. He was throwing 97 sometimes. I mean, and he throws 93. His curveball's sloppy. He's slopping it up there instead of spinning it up there with a nice little break on it. I mean, he was my guy. I was talking about him, that year that they kept bringing him up and down 7 different times, and every time you saw him, his stuff was good. And you thought, hey, why is this guy? I remember talking to him a couple of times. I said, I think you're good, and I don't usually say that to people, but he's terrible right now. And then with all that going on, Barrios goes out there and throws up on Saturday. He should have, without about 3 fluky outs there, like the line drive that turned into grabbed and turned into a double play, and then Grossman getting caught off third for no reason, and that was a double. I mean, He gives up 7 runs. He was brutal. And he's throwing nothing but breaking pitches, too. Throw some fastballs, go after some hitters. The fact that everybody has to try to fool every hitter is just, I don't know. I am down on the way I'm down not only on their staff, I'm down on the way they have their staff throwing. It's just so breaking ball crazy that they get themselves in these bad counts. And now you look over in St. Paul and, they're starting Tuesday. They have no position players. They ran out of position players yesterday in Omaha. They had eight healthy position players. They had to let Andrew Albers bat twice when they were 3 runs behind because they had no players. Here's the other thing, Mike. I'm beginning to think the worst thing that ever happened to baseball was MRIs, because we find out that some guy has an injury,
right?
Whether a strained hair or something there, but this cannot be normal. That a team like the Saints starts on Tuesday with 13 position players, and now they got 8 left. I know they got 1 called up. Nick Gordon got called up, but a lot of it's the pandemic. I know it is, because I think they have different rules when they bring guys up that
right.
They have to quarantine for a day or some dang thing. I don't know what's going on, but this, you're playing baseball right now. The Twins, you don't have Buxton. You're one great player. You don't have Kirilloff. You're one great point of interest. He hits 4 home runs in 3 days. Then the next day he hits 2 doubles, and then he's done. 4 days. 4 days. The 4-day Kirilloff phenomenon. That's how long it lasts. And then Arise, dumbhead, slides into home plate on his belly he collides with, he was their best player. So it's a complete train wreck. And there's the idea that somehow the other thing, Mike, is they've had an easy schedule.
I know. That's the thing.
An easy schedule.
I know. Now they got
to start playing real teams here pretty soon.
Well, they got the White Sox now. I mean, and that doesn't give you any optimism. You get, and the thing is, you're down back to one guy in the bullpen that you trust, Taylor Rogers, right? I mean, that's kind of feels like 2018, 2019 all over again. And your lineup is, like you said, there's with those guys hurt, like when Buxton was going and playing, when Kirilloff was starting to turn it around, you're like, okay, you can start to see how they might be able to piece innings together. And now you just look at their lineup every night. They're putting somebody out there 2 or 3 different spots where you're like, I don't think that guy's going to get a hit. Like, how do you sustain a rally? How do you get a winning streak going? And, a 7 out of 9 is the kind of thing they kind of need to get back into any kind of shot at getting back to 500. But it's hard to see it at this point with the bullpen and the lineup in particular. You could maybe see, if you got a couple good turns in a row from the rotation, but even that doesn't feel like it's something you should come to expect. And I'm just trying to figure out, how did this go so bad so fast? How did this go from, the expectations we had and the depth we thought they might have had?
Everybody's brought it up, but it's 2011. That's what it is. It's 2011. I mean, and it seemed like preposterous, but as I've said this many times, and the only topic of discussion in Florida in 2011 was, can the Twins beat the Yankees in October finally? And really? They went 63 and 99, because the pitch. Now that was mostly the pitching collapse completely, but I don't see much hope here. And I don't see this as a group that's going to ride it out. I think that Maeda, all those guys are going to be Barrios. If they don't get him signed, Barrios, I think they're all it's going to be a garage sale.
MLB TV had a graphic already the other day, like potential Twins trade targets. And it's like, it's early May, boy. That went south fast.
Yeah, it is. I mean, Nelly, they're not going to get anything for Nelly. And this idea that everybody, what would you do with Sano? I don't know. I don't think they can move him. Do you?
No, I don't know what you do with him. And he's tomorrow's his 28th birthday. Like at this point,
Yes.
he's a
Yeah,
veteran.
yeah, he is. He is a veteran, and he's enormous. He's enormous when you see him now. I mean, he made a couple of good plays at first base over the weekend, but I don't know. I don't know that 305-pound men who are 28 years old are going to succeed in baseball. Frank Howard was the only 300-pounder in baseball history that wasn't a pitcher who did something, and he was like 6'8". He was a basketball player. He was, when you saw him, he was gigantic, but it wasn't like, you think this uniform is going to stay in one piece here when he moves, like Miguel. I don't know. It's I don't know what happened to him between spring of last year when he looked pretty dang good to what he is now. It's just he's as big as he's ever been. He's not quite as fat in the face and everything as he was in 2019 when he was terrible when he showed up. But he's enormous, and I don't know. It's a mess. There's no doubt about it. But yeah, they're gonna. I don't see. Hey, Mike, they're playing the White Sox. The White Sox don't have Jimenez. They don't have Robert. They call him. I guess we got to call him Robert, even though it should be Robert. But do you look at their outfield? They got a bunch of guys, off the street, basically. Billy Hamilton's been playing some center field for them, for goodness sakes. And yet, when you have good pitching, you can get away with that. And they have pretty good pitching, and this team.
Yeah.
This team doesn't. I don't know. I just don't see it. I mean, I'm watching them in Detroit and saying, these are two pretty evenly matched teams.
Right? That's not good. That's not good.
This is a battle.
That shouldn't make you feel good about anything.
No, I think it's a long summer, and you just hope that this isn't another one of those that predetermines about 4 or 5 terrible years in a row, like it did the last time.
Well, that was the thing. You thought they were set up for a pretty wide window, and this year the first 32 games calls that into doubt. Hey, we got to talk a little bit about the Timberwolves because, boy, if you've ever seen I don't know if I've seen a team worse than the Orlando team that I saw last night in that game. You go into that game, both teams, all they're playing for really is the lottery at this point, but Orlando clearly playing to try to get the lottery luck. The Wolves trying to win, but man, the Wolves are up by like 43 points in the third quarter. Like that was barely a replacement level team Orlando's putting out there on Sunday night.
Well, it's a that's, you want to know what tanking looks like,
ladies
and gentlemen, in the NBA, and the idea that somehow by changing the odds, teams wouldn't be as aggressively tanking. They have to, and I don't know if they have, but here's what they have to come up with. I think in the NBA, you can't be in the top 5 more than once, or 2 years in a row. You can't be in the top 5. That's okay. My theory. As far you got to do something to. Okay, you can stink this year, but you can't turn around and do it again next year. And that's that league gets. They have so many problems about who's going to play tonight, and and how many teams are trying to lose. It's the only league where baseball, they talk about it, but tanking is usually just being rotten. But the NBA has so many issues compared to every other league as far as who's going to play when you go to this, because you want to see the stars, right? And
right.
Or at least guys you've heard of. If this was a regular season and you're putting normal crowds in, and Orlando comes to town, I know they don't have 8,000 people there, but does anyone deserve to pay for this? It's that league has so many problems in that way. It's unbelievable. But the Wolves are. Edwards strikes again, by the way. What a quote machine he is when he explained the Towns Butler.
Yeah, Friday night game, that was fun.
Yeah, but how about a 19-year-old kid having to speak up for this alleged superstar? It's a cat. I don't know. I think he's been playing pretty good the last month, but I don't know. This kid's got so much more juice than everybody else they've had around here. So
yeah,
long.
he's got some leadership to him, which is interesting for someone so young.
My favorite thing of him all year, I guess I mentioned it, is when they were celebrating. They lost, but they played well because of somebody's birthday.
Yeah, it was Wancho's birthday. It was Wancho's birthday.
Wancho, and then an assistant coach's birthday too. So I like. I mean, they can go out and give up 140 points in a heartbeat, but I think they have a professional coach now in Finch, and they might win 23 games, 24 games after we thought they're going to win 15. So that's fine. And now people are going to, if they don't get one of the top three, people, they should have tanked. Well, there was no guarantee. So try to play some competent basketball for a change and show us a little glimpse of what it might be.
Yeah. I had Reusse and Reusse on the show last week, and that was exactly what he was saying. And he was saying his point too is we got to give the pick up at some point. It's either going to be this year or next year. And right now you look at it. I mean, you look at I'm looking at the standings right now, and they're really kind of virtually they're tied with Cleveland and Orlando now at 21 and 47. I've got to think they're probably going to beat Detroit here Tuesday night, just because Detroit's trying hard to lose too. But the five teams that are also in this kind of low spot in the standings. Houston's 1-9 in their last 10. Detroit 2-8. Oklahoma City 1-9. Cleveland 0-10. Orlando 3-7. Wolves 6-4. So we can tell who's actually trying to win still at this point. If they finish with the sixth worst record, they might end up giving the the sixth, seventh, eighth pick to Golden State, which is not ideal, but it's not the end of the world.
Hey, by the way, is this stupid 7 through 10 thing permanent, or is that pandemic, or is that?
I don't know.
I hate it. I hate the idea that you're going to let 67% of your league go to the playoffs. It's just idiotic. It's unbelievable to me.
I didn't think I was going to like it, but I don't mind it. I think the theory behind it is okay. That it feels like they're trying to keep more teams in the mix.
Some standard for people to call themselves a playoff team. It's like the Wild trying to say they were in the playoffs last year. No, you weren't.
Right.
You were not in the playoffs, because when they first announced it, they announced it as a preliminary round.
Right.
Which is what it was. I don't know this idea that you're gonna. But I guess that's the future. Damn well that baseball is going to have six or seven teams in when they finish negotiating the new contract with the players too. If they ever do finish negotiating the contract, but I don't know. I think it's just stupid. But it is kind of funny to see the Lakers probably ending up in the play-in tournament.
And the Celtics great. Probably too. Lakers and Celtics both in that play-in tournament.
That guy's going to get fired. They're terrible. They lose. They must mail it in a lot. They lose by 25 frequently. The Celtics. So
yeah, that's a weird team. They're supposed to be better this year too.
Yeah, it is. So yeah, and you mentioned before we came out, we got another Bob Baffert controversy. I contacted Rachel when he got popped again, and she said she was watching the race and said, I was rooting. I was saying anybody but this horse, anybody but this horse. And he ends up, of course, he has no idea how it happened, and somebody's spiking their tests or something like that. He's this dignified looking guy with the white hair. He doesn't look sleazy, but it's unbelievable. He's had way too many horses die. And, way too many of these cheating controversies. And if that second test, that split test comes out, he's going to get slapped down nationally. I think he's going to end up getting suspended everywhere, I think. So, it's, but I don't know. I actually missed the Derby this year. I saw the replay, but when I heard one of his horses won, that was a big underdog and kind of an unimpressive horse. My first reaction was, I wonder if they'll pass the drug test. I'll bet he does. My original reaction was, I don't think he'll pass the drug test, and he did. So,
what happens to people? What happens to all the wagers on a thing like that? I was wondering that when that
They
came.
get paid, I believe. They get paid as soon as they're posted, they get them paid, but because they can't, once in a
make
while,
them wait 2 weeks to
once in a while you see
tickets.
once in a while you see the sports books getting sued by someone who wants to pay off a ticket, but it never works because it's in the when you make a bet, it's in the rules that when they get paid. So anyway, yeah, that's it would be too easy to bet on a Baffert horse if you'd get paid when they won and then you'd get paid when they got taken to bet the race that he was running. You could get paid twice, once when he won and then once when he gets taken down, so that's not gonna happen. But that sport's in enough trouble, and then you have the biggest trainer in the business turning out to be just a complete weenie head who keeps getting caught cheating. It's terrible.
Yeah,
it's not good for it, to say the least.
Well, Wolves are almost done, Patrick. The Twins aren't playing great. We got to get something to get us to the Vikings training camp. You think it'll be a wild playoff? Think it'll be a wild playoff run? Or Lynx? What's going to get us through?
It looks like they're going to be probably be playing Colorado first round. Huh?
Yeah.
Their goaltending is much better than Colorado's, so I think they got a chance against Colorado. I think it's not official that Colorado's going to finish ahead of them either yet. Although,
no.
I got to think the Wild, they're not going to win them both in St. Louis. So, because St. Louis has still got to win a game to get in the playoffs, I think. So, and they've had trouble with St. Louis. So 2 games down there, they'll probably split those. So they're probably end up on the road. But they've had great success against Vegas. Colorado's got more offensive talent than they do, but the Wild are better in goaltending. And, there's no guarantee that St. Louis isn't going to go in and beat Vegas too.
Yeah. St. Louis is one of those teams that could be scary in the playoffs.
Yeah. Plus hockey my example lately is the Lightning. The year they were invincible, they got swept in the first round, right?
Yep.
The Lightning. The next year, last year, when they weren't nearly as good, they won the cup. So it's a weird thing because when you play to 3, anybody can win. That's my theory on hockey. Why are there so many fewer upsets in hockey? I mean, in basketball playoffs than hockey. One of them
playing to 120.
120. The other's playing to 3. That's why.
Every other sport pretty much. That's good.
Kaprizov's on the ice for 22 minutes. LeBron's on the court for 40 minutes, playing with 5 guys. That's the reason for that. It's not a big mystery.
All right, Patrick. Right. Good stuff. We'll talk to you next week. All right.
Yep.
Let's end with the cooler. If you are a savvy hockey fan, you will want to watch Colorado Vegas tonight. Watch that score. It's a late one, so you don't necessarily have to stay up late, but be aware of this one. Colorado and Vegas tonight. This is kind of the Wild's last stand. Right now, they are 1 point behind Colorado. Colorado has a game in hand. They are 5 points behind Vegas. Vegas and the Wild have played the same number of games, so not going to catch Vegas at this point. Really, you're hoping that Vegas wins tonight in regulation, gives the Wild a shot. They'd be 1 point behind Colorado with 2 games left. Give the Wild a shot at maybe jumping up into second place, maybe hosting Colorado in that first round playoff matchup, which would be important. So watch that tonight. That's kind of the Wild's last stand. Otherwise, they're going to be locked into third place in the West. Not the end of the world, but this is their chance. This is their chance to jump up and have an opportunity and be able to play these last 2 games of the regular season with something on the line. That'll do it for today. Thank you for joining me. Hope you enjoyed the show. Again, like I said, I think I'll have Cameron Bynum on Tuesday's show. Really enjoyed my conversation with Cam. He's just a really, really good dude. I think he's gonna have a chance to make an impact with the Vikings this year. And I also talked to Bob Timmons on Tuesday about an outdoor adventure, trying to go down the Mississippi River as fast as possible. Thank you for listening. Download this podcast if you would. Write a review if you have a moment. Always read Star Tribune and StarTribune.com, and we will catch you again on Tuesday.